What's up, y'all? So I just had this cool conversation with Mr. Yanimal of the Yanimal YouTube channel. We just were chatting about the new Star Wars movie, and that's what this episode is going to be about. It's just gonna be kind of a look into our chat. Definitely tons of spoilers. It's all about the spoilers. Two people who have watched the movie who are excited to talk about it and examine it from a story point of view and just a filming point of view and all that stuff. We did talk a little bit more off air as well, before and after. But I just wanted to record a little bit, during the main part of the conversation. So anybody who's interested in just hearing more about artists and other comic creators' thoughts about the movie, if you're interested in that kind of thing, to check it out, and hope you dig it, hope you get something from it. And yeah, without further ado, let's do this.
Donkey Job Projects.
Overall, like, what's your first reaction to it when did you see it, by the way?
I saw it on Friday when it opened here.
Okay, cool.
In Barcelona, and we actually went to. There's a cinema close to my house, Phenomena, and they actually showed it in 4K.
Mm-hmm.
And every screen was The Last Jedi, and it was really fun with just the lines around the block and everything. And overall, my first impression, I was just overwhelmed. I felt and not just myself, my friends as well who were with me. I just felt like I watched The Empire and Return of the Jedi in one movie, coalesced.
Mm.
There was just so much happening, and there were so many surprises and so many turns. It was just too much to take in at the end of it. And I was just completely overwhelmed. But I loved it. I just had a really fun time at the cinema. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, there were definitely some things in the story that we could talk about later where I was a little bit I'm not sure about that. But I think it opens things up, and that's always what I wanted to see from the new movies,
Yeah.
Especially now that they've shown us that somebody can go back in time and make something like Rogue One, which feels, like it was made in the 70s.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like we have to fear if they go in a new direction with this series in particular.
Right. Cool. Well, I guess I'll say my first reaction was basically that I just really loved it. I had same thing. I had a great movie experience. And I just went by myself. I was going to try to invite people, and I wasn't sure 100% if I was going at that time. And I did mention it to a couple people, but it just didn't work out. But I really it was kind of okay to me, because it's I kind of just want to sit there and enjoy the movie anyways, so it's not that big a deal if somebody's not there. But so I I really loved it. My mind was blown. One thing that really struck me was, I don't know about you, but it was very emotional to me.
Yeah.
I was on the verge of tears many times throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because I'm just a silly geeky Star Wars fan, or if it's I think it was, the characters, and I mean, they were going through some real stuff. I really liked the different character arcs. Poe, his character arc was really interesting.
Yeah.
Then also especially the relationship between Rey and now all of a sudden I'm forgetting main characters' names. Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
That whole development was really interesting. I was kind of back and forth. I wasn't sure if I was liking the direction they were going, or as I was watching it. But as it kept going, I don't know. I feel like it was an interesting direction, and it was exploring the things that they were. It was continuing to explore the things they had explored before in the Force Awakens, and like I wanted to see like that pull of Kylo coming to the light side, because it's like that is just to me a very interesting thing, because it's always been the other direction with Star Wars movies. People are being pulled to the dark side, you know. So that was interesting, but they went even kind of deeper with that whole concept as well. And yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of cool character arcs. I love Finn's character arc. Like his was an emotional ride for me. Rose, I love Rose. I think she's freaking awesome. Like
Yeah,
she's
very
like
cool.
in some ways she's a big part of like the heart of the Rebel Alliance and stuff like that. And um then well, I guess we can talk about, you know, other stuff. We'll let the character thing go for a bit and see like what did you think about the characters and how they developed it.
Well, like ever since the last one, I feel like they you know they've just set up a really cool new group of people, and the main thing for the like for me from Star Wars that I get from the original trilogy and in these new films is how like they're so full of energy, and like they're so full of like youthful like just passion.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie is relentless, like just like with The Force Awakens, like this movie is just like it just keeps moving forward, like something is constantly happening, and just when you think you get a breather, like something goes wrong, and it just, you know, so you're on this roller coaster ride with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually get, you know, fairly meaningful choices. And then you get to see some old-time favorites, you know, and you get to see them interact with the new cast and like with each other, and like yeah. It's very moving.
Yeah, and let's see, like even just like, and you know, it's like crazy too. Another thing I noticed is like the first like sequence of scenes and whatnot, like holy crap, like right from the beginning, like I was like, it was almost a little unbearable. Like
Yeah.
it was just so intense, and like I was like nervous for like the first 20 minutes, like what's gonna happen. With like Poe and everything, like holy crap.
Yeah, but also like how wrong things went, you
Yeah,
know. And
yeah,
oh yeah, it was just breathtaking and funny. Like that's another thing. Like someone said like, oh, this movie was like there was too much humor in it, and I was like, was it really? And then the more I think about it, the more I was like, yeah, how did they actually pull that off? Like the people were laughing out loud so often in this film.
mm,
And at the same time, like I felt like it got really dark in places, especially with Luke's whole thing, you know.
yeah,
And like when we found out a little bit more about Kylo's side of things, of what happened, I was really yeah. Like I said, like it was just like this roller coaster of one surprise and plot development after the next.
yeah. And I guess you know, oh man, I've read some things like on Facebook, and I watched a few like reviews and stuff. So but I don't know, to me I feel like most people I know will like it, and if you like Force Awakens you'll like it.
Yeah.
But I've already heard the haters come out of the woodwork. Like
Yeah.
people are saying it's dividing Star Wars fans, and but then some people are like, this is better than Empire, and like, so I'm like, what? Like it's crazy. I can't believe like
Yeah.
people have all these. I don't know. I mean, I guess I expect it, but wow.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, it's, you know, it's the biggest movie of the year,
Yeah,
clearly. So of course people are gonna. I mean, of course people. There's always gonna be people who are not gonna like it, and they're gonna be vocal about it. But I also feel like everyone is trying to get their point of view out as quickly as possible.
yep,
And if you have a divisive opinion or a contrarian opinion,
right,
you know, I mean, I click on them as well. I just want to hear people's points of view, and some of them have very good points, I find. You
yeah,
know, like I found like I think like a lot of us have had these. Well, okay, so this is the thing that I find the movie does really well, like meta,
hmm,
where it really toys with expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this really big storyline with Kylo and Rey, but also with Luke and Yoda, where they're basically trying to cut ties with the past.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And it's like you have to let go of the past. Like you have to let go of the things you did wrong if you want to move forward. And for Kylo, it's very obvious what he did wrong. And then we learn what Luke did wrong and what the Jedi did wrong, you know, going from the prequels to the old trilogy, like that is mentioned. And like the things that Rey wants right about her past that we also want to learn, and she also has to let go. Like you're just never going to find out, you know? And it's also kind of like this really big message to the fans, like, you know, you have to learn to let go of how precious these movies are for you if you want these movies to survive, you know? And I thought that was really well done. And I don't like all of it because like my main thing that I wanted from these films with Luke was like, I wanted to see some kind of Jedi Academy, you know, and him training a next generation. Like I just kind of wanted to see that instead of it just being mentioned in passing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting that whole dynamic of, you know, you have to go, you know, kind of move forward from the past things. And I heard some people saying like that's what this movie's like trying to like tell you to forget about all the other Star Wars or something, which I don't think it is. But then also like I did love, I mean, to me that was just a story element that had to do with like the characters specifically. And like I mean, Kylo Ren, that one line where he's just like, he said something where it's like, you know, you have to move from your past, you have to actually kill it. Like,
yeah,
like you not only move away from it, but you have to kill it. Like, and obviously, you know, Han Solo, and it's interesting because like he's got this dynamic where it's like he's trying to, you know, move forward and politically, but he's also got like these crazy like emotional situations. And like he killed his father in Force Awakens, but then when he had the opportunity, when it was time to do it to Leia, he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. And then it happened anyways, sort of. But then, you know, the other whole thing with her, you know, recovering or whatever. But I don't know. That whole killing the past was obviously a huge theme in it, and very interesting. And it was interesting too because, you know, you expect this dynamic, this whole thing of trying to like, you know, Kylo possibly like moving more towards the light. You expect that that's going to be a big thing, and you want it to be. But then like it kind of happens. But then like after, you see that what his idea of moving, you know, beyond the past and what, you know, Rey's idea are two very different things.
Yeah, but this is kind of the cool thing in storytelling that they do in this film, I found, where you see several characters grappling with the same thing. And it's all like, and their same thing is actually linked, which is good for the story. But at the same time, you can also see, you get to see from their own different points of view how they make different choices, you know? And so, so I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
But like, it does hit on like the main thing, like the main, like one of the big things about this film is like, how much throughout the film like the director manages to keep us on our toes with these surprises, and then actually allows us to kind of like sit in it, you know, like, oh my God, so and so just died. And then like it moves on and like, oh, okay. It's not like she gets rescued straight away.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it just allows you to kind of deal with this upwelling of emotion that someone dies and then it doesn't, or vice versa. You know, like this movie is all about surprises, like how they just kept moving and moving and moving. It was so well done.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I thought it was awesome.
the fact that Leia didn't die, that's a huge surprise just altogether. Like, I mean, I think everybody expected that she was going to die in this movie,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
obvious.
but like it looked like, yeah, but it looked like they were killing her off in like in the first 20 minutes.
Exactly, and then that didn't
And that
happen.
was like, oh my God. Yeah, I was just like, can't, yeah, I mean, they can do that. But it was, yeah, it was just a shock. Like, and then they actually let you just sit in it, like just watching her die for
Uh-huh.
before, she saves herself. Like, oh, yeah, it was
So,
just so well done. So well done.
so like, I wonder what they're gonna do though, like, because she's still not dead. So, like, I wonder if they recorded even more stuff with her before she passed, or if they're just
It's a very
gonna
good question.
explain it away. Like, it won't be very satisfying, if they just kind of, put it in the intro scroll. Oh,
Crawl.
Leia died, and so now they're doing this. Like, that would be very annoying.
Yeah, I'm a little like there's certain, like people have been saying like they're not gonna do it out of respect for her
Hmm.
or for her fan base.
Yeah.
And I find that very odd that they would say that now.
Hmm.
I mean, I can understand that it's a little fresh in everyone's minds, but at the same time, like, well, yeah, but you could at least have her show up in a scene, even if it's digitally or from before,
Right.
and then something happens, and then that's it.
Right.
You know?
Um,
Yeah, I don't know.
I think there's one part, like, I was a little bit not happy with how they handled Leia in some ways, because um she like she doesn't like when Luke comes and talks to her, you know
Hmm.
saying, I'm sorry, about, obviously, about Kylo Ren and Ben.
Yeah,
And she's just like, oh, it's okay. Like,
yeah,
it's just like, he's already been gone, and I get that, but that's not what a mother says. Like, I don't know. That struck me weird. Like,
it was a bit.
like, it didn't even show any, like, hurt, really. Like, okay, I'm struggling to forgive you, type of thing, but I do forgive you and I love you, type of thing. There wasn't even any of that. It was
Yeah,
just like, yeah, well, he's already been dead to me. Like, I mean, it wasn't that crass,
that
but
that was, yeah. No, but it was a little. I don't know. I mean, if there was some kind of acknowledgement that she came to that conclusion because he killed Han,
right.
it would make more sense. To be honest, like a lot of people are saying a lot of nice things about Carrie Sher being in these movies and everything, and and I think she's amazing behind the scenes, like in everything that she does. But I find her very wooden in both these films,
Hmm.
to the point that it hurts her character, what her character has to do. Like she's just very stoic and just kind of stands there and has snarky lines, and it's like she doesn't, like, her acting is just, compared to Mark Hamill,
Yeah,
and
Mark.
like I feel like, I don't know, like people have said, like I've read that people don't hold his acting in very high regard, but
Right.
I thought he's really good in this movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've always said, well, I don't know if I've always said, but often I've said that the original Star Wars movies, I mean, Luke's, Mark Hamill was not that great of an actor for a lot of parts. I mean, he was, I guess he was, but he was, there was definitely, but like, then obviously he does, I mean, he carries the emotional core too of the movie in some ways.
Hmm.
But also, I mean, really, who shines in, like, the original movies is definitely, Harrison Ford. He's like a huge part of why those movies are awesome. Um, but I don't know, he did it convincingly enough in the originals, but in this movie, he did it. Like, he did a good job. Like, he was awesome in this movie. I definitely love his acting work.
Yeah, and like with Princess Leia, I just found, I don't know, like I just there, like in general, I found like a serious lack of emotion just on her face, you know.
I'm trying to think
And
about the original
uh,
movies and if that was there for her or not. But
yeah,
I think she
and she was shouting and like, you know,
I don't feel like she was wooden in the original movies, but
no,
I mean I don't know that she was amazing, but um yeah, I feel like maybe she was did a better job in the originals, maybe.
hmm,
And I mean, part of it too is like how much of it is her fault and how much of it is, the writing fault. I don't know. Like they didn't necessarily
hmm,
give her, you know, they didn't like give her really meaningful lines when it came to certain stuff, you know.
yeah, maybe.
So I don't know, but yeah, I think you're right though that her performance was maybe left something to be desired.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just my opinion. I didn't think she was bad. I just felt like you're not really, you know, like when it comes to delivering, when it comes to when Luke says, "I'm not here to save him," you know,
Yeah,
you think she still kind of would let out a sigh or something, like just like,
yeah.
okay,
Like I
like
feel
yeah,
like
I don't know.
In the Force Awakens, she did like I did feel the emotion from her about her hurt about her son and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah, much more. Yeah, more. Even though I still felt it was wooden, but it was much more.
but I think your
You know?
description of wooden though, that like that's a good way to describe it. Like that is how she kind of was in this movie. Um, and almost more like when she did a little better, like when it was less, when it was more just kind of, hey, I'm the general, and sometimes I make funny lines type of thing. Like she did pretty good with that. Like I
Hmm.
that one part where what does she say? She's like, wipe that nervous expression off your face or something like that to C3PO. I was like, that was awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, there was some good. She did have some good lines, man. But yeah, like, what else was really good about this film?
Oh man, there's so
It
much.
was definitely the surprises for me, like how they managed. Like it just felt like a new movie. Like I just didn't know what to expect anymore. You
Mm,
know,
yeah,
and they managed to keep that going all the way till the end. Like when Luke showed up, like that was such a big moment, and then they still managed to give a surprise there. And then after that, there was still another surprise with him, and it was like, oh my god, I can't deal with this. It was awesome.
I was also freaking out too about um, like when Luke came on the scene and it was like, you know, it was like about to be that showdown or whatever. Like I
Hmm.
was like, they're gonna piss me off right now if they end this movie right now because it kind of felt like it was about to be the end of the movie, and they were just gonna like leave it at that cliffhanger, and I was like, no, please, please, like let this play out. And I'm
Yeah,
glad it
but
did.
but actually, like that is actually a very good point. But this is also why I said this movie to me felt like when I walked out, I was like I just felt as if I watched Empire and Return of the Jedi in one go,
Hmm.
and I actually just thought to myself like, what are they going to do in the next movie? Like, if this is the ending of the entire saga, and it just ends with a like everything is destroyed, like they have to start fresh. There's one bad guy, there's one good guy, and that's it. And then you saw the little kid at the very end using the Force. Like this spark, like it's still there. We can go anywhere now.
Yeah.
um, I thought like if this was like the ending of the new films, it would just be perfect. Like
Huh.
just stop now, you know?
Interesting. So that's what you meant by that. See, I definitely don't. Like, I would disagree with you there. Because,
Okay.
um, well, I see your point that now, like, that it's almost the two movies, in one because a lot did happen. It was very long. Um, and, like, yeah, it did kind of, I don't know, it kind of seemed to have, it just seemed like there was a lot happened. But they left a lot on the table too. Like, I would not be satisfied with all the things they left on the table, for that being the end or whatever. And I probably one of the things I didn't like a lot was that scene with the kid at the end. Like, that just seemed out of nowhere. It didn't seem to fit in any way to me.
Really?
Um, yeah, like I saw what they were doing, like, but it just seemed like kind of almost an easy thing to do. Like, who is that kid? Like, there's nothing really, like, you have to build something up to that kid, really, and it really wasn't, I don't think.
But I didn't really feel like it was about the kid. It was more about like what he stands for.
Yeah,
You know, like anyone can be a Jedi. Like we don't know who gets the, the gift. Like it
yeah,
could be anyone. And like they're still out there. And so like the whole notion of like so many people were so anxious to find out who Rey's parents were.
hmm,
And I tried to stay away from theories, but some of them I kind of liked. Like, what if Rey is the daughter of the Emperor, for example?
yeah,
You know? But then the fact that she was just a nobody and how that played into the story, and the fact that there are other nobodies out there, they could be anyone, and they could be special too. And and one of the complaints against Empire back in the day was that what made Luke special was that he was just a farm boy. Like he could be any one of us.
yeah,
But then instead you find out that he's actually the son of a lord.
yeah,
So now it's about class and bloodlines, which makes still a great movie. Like it still makes for a good story. But now they've kind of moved back. Like, okay, like yeah, you can have a bloodline, sure, why not? But it doesn't dictate who gets to be a Jedi anymore. Like for the new films, it could be anyone.
yeah. I mean, maybe they said that to me. Like, I think a lot of people are, and I'm not. It's more something I heard online, people's reactions. But like, some people I heard were like, okay, so now we know about, you know, Ray's parents, and I'm like,
Mhm.
do we know about Ray's parents? Like, that conversation to me, the stuff that happened about that in the movie to me did not seem conclusive at all. Like, to me, it seemed like, okay, so originally she's like at this weird mirror thing, and which
Mhm.
I thought was a little odd. Actually, I didn't really love that part either. But what came out of it is she was trying to see her parents and wasn't able to. Like, she
Mhm.
didn't know who they were, so they didn't reveal it, and I felt like that was on purpose because they are going to reveal it and haven't yet, and I think her parents are something more than what they hinted at later in the film, which was, Kylo Ren is talking to her and saying,
Yeah.
I've seen what your parents are, and you know what your parents are, and they're just nobodies and blah blah blah. Like, but she didn't really barely respond to that. Like, she just kind
Yeah.
of had emotions. And so people saying that they revealed her parent situation, I don't think it's true yet. Like, I feel like they wouldn't have put that mirror scene in there if her parents are just some, nobodies. There's
Yeah.
something more to it. Like, I kind of feel like through Kylo and her relationship, and this kind of makes, it'd be interesting in some ways, but some people might be frustrated with it because they already did it. But I almost felt like they were brother and sister. Like,
Yeah, I got that vibe too.
I really was like, maybe, I don't know, maybe they saw what was going on with Kylo and then,
Yeah.
got rid of, tried to, send, you know, Ray off to have maybe a better, different life or something. And that obviously didn't end up working out.
Yeah. No, I thought there was going to be a reveal of some sort in that direction as well, and then it didn't happen. But I agree with you that they can still totally go back on this and still have a reveal in the next film about her lineage. They could totally do that. But I feel like for the story in this one, I think it's fine how they.
Yeah.
kind of put a stop to it, you know?
Because I mean, it has to be more. They did too much building up to let it just be, oh, your parents are nothing. Like there's too much. Like I just feel like it's been so much about that. Like Jin, or I keep wanting to say Jin, but Rey's story is so much about what's going on with her parents, and if you just leave it at that, I don't know, that if that's what it ultimately ends up being, I'm gonna be a little unsatisfied with that, character arc personally.
Yeah. No. Okay.
But I get what you're saying. Like it is interesting because they did bring that out, like that. I mean, that was a big theme. That, and it was more in the thing between Rey and Luke, where Luke is like, we don't own the Force. The the Jedi is not, the Force isn't exclusive to Jedi. The Force is something in and of itself. It's what's in between all the, however he put it.
Yes, which was an awesome scene.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting, and I'm like, that was cool. Like that, it's like, oh, so anybody can be involved in this, if they're able to, I guess, be Force sensitive or whatever,
But didn't they? I mean, I feel like they also kind of hinted at that with people like Maz Kanata in The Force Awakens, where they kind of hinted at there are people who are followers of the Force, but they're not necessarily Jedi or Force sensitive.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And the same in Rogue One, where now I forgot his name. Everyone in Rogue One has such complicated names anyway. Donnie Yen's character, the blind samurai.
Right.
Yeah. So the Guardian, and it's like he's like a bodyguard for the temple, kind of.
Yeah.
And then, but he's not actually a Jedi. He's just kind of sensitive, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely some interesting connections, I think, for sure. So yeah, I'm curious, where they're going to take that whole idea.
Yeah, they could just broaden the the mythology a little bit more.
Speaking about Maz Kanata or whatever, I never know, but like she had like, it's weird, like she was barely in the movie, but the part she was in, like I loved it. That was like so cool, and I really hope we see more of her.
Yeah, it was very cool. It's very cool. I was speaking of like not disappointment, was another really big surprise that kind of left me like, what? Like lots of people were kind of chomping at the bit to find out more about Rey, but I was really eager to learn more about Snoke. Because everyone seems to know this guy in The Force Awakens, like Leia and Han, they're talking about him. They know that he was behind the corruption of their son and not Luke.
Yeah.
And Luke talks about him, and it's like, okay, so where did this guy come from? He's clearly like 1,000 years old, like where did he come from? Like, who is this guy? And we don't find out a single thing. And I feel like, okay, no, it's fine. Like, the scene, like he's really there to serve the purpose of the devil and the big bad. And then, Kylo wants to replace him. That's cool. Just like the Emperor. But like they gave us nothing, like not even a single hint, like where he came from, like nothing.
Yeah. It's weird because like his character in this movie was really good. Like
oh my God. Like, I loved him.
He had a really cool, things going on. It was almost like a much more like developed version of the Emperor, or in some ways more interesting, I guess. And then, he just was done. Which was an awesome way to do it. Like I love how they did it, but I was like, I didn't expect that at all. That's one of those things, like I definitely didn't expect that to happen yet,
Yeah, it was so awesome. Like I think he's a worthy replacement of the Emperor if you're gonna have a throne room scene with someone who's that powerful. You know, the way he came across in that golden bathrobe thing he was wearing, it was just really creepy. It was really cool.
He showed a lot more power than the Emperor seemed to show, you know.
Yeah, the Emperor was a lot more like holding his cards more to his vest, you know.
Yeah, that's true. It was really interesting. And then that whole fight scene with Kylo and Rey was amazing.
Yeah, to watch them fight together, like that was the moment where I'm like, okay, this is it. Kylo is going to turn. He's going to turn back.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was another one of those incredible surprises where it's like, oh my God, Kylo is turning. He is turning. And then he's still like, he holds out his hand and it's like, and he switches back to like, this is it. This is my Vader moment. I get to rule the galaxy.
Yeah.
You know? So it was really cool.
Absolutely. It's funny too, like, I don't know if they're trying to go for this angle or not, but like, it seems to me that Rey is like, I think they keep trying to put in that like whole typical like, oh, she's being tempted by the dark side, but I don't think she's really having it. I don't think she has any inkling whatsoever to go to the dark side. Like, that's not her struggle. Like, like she doesn't care. Like, she's just not going to the dark side. I don't really see any danger in that at all.
Yeah, she comes across as too good.
Well, I think it's just a little bit more you know, because that can't be everybody's story, you know.
No.
That was Luke's story, that was Anakin's story, but you know, her story is it's more of a Wolverine story where she's like, you know, it's about her past and it's about finding kind of finding her way. I don't know. I think it's still developing too. Like, I'm not 100% sure where her motives are at. Like, it might even be, I don't know. I just think like she's not really tempted by the dark side that much.
Not in the same way, at least.
Yeah. I think she was kind of tempted to join Kylo because maybe that would have been a different thing, you know. But she could see that he wasn't in it for the right reasons, kind of like Anakin or something, you know. So I don't know, but she did seem a little bit tempted because she was building this connection with Kylo, and that, I think, it was interesting because it almost became like a very like almost like it almost was like, you know, online messaging. Like, it was like they had this connection where they were starting to really build a relationship, and if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, he's like the total enemy and she's against him, just, you know, in general, you know, it seemed like it could have turned into an interesting like friendship, or
definitely.
maybe more, you know. I don't know, but
yeah, they were definitely hinting at that. I thought the put a shirt on scene was very funny.
Yeah. Could you put a shirt on?
Cool.
So funny.
Go
ahead.
Well, like that whole like force sensitive texting, and then to find out that Snoke was kind of behind it.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, but again, it was like, okay, so who's Snoke? Like, what are his powers? Like, what is the extent of his powers? And is this how he corrupted Kylo? You know. And then there was the scene where, you know, Luke walked in on them and just kind of blew the place up. And I was like that, like, I can't really remember it that well, even like that. It's another reason I have to go back. Like, what actually happened? Like when Luke walked in on them, you know?
Yeah. That's when they were like about to like cross the planes of just talking to each other through the Force and actual physical touch, you know.
Which was a nice setup for, you know, Luke's final stand. and like just kind of highlighting like, no, you can actually physically connect through the Force over distance. Like this is like a new thing.
Yeah.
You know, even though I feel like it's been there in the comics and in the books for some time.
Oh, has it? I don't know about that. I didn't realize because because there was that moment too where like Rey got splashed with water and then Kylo had water on his glove or whatever. So they were like they were definitely trying to show this new kind of dimension of the Force that hasn't been in the movies previously.
Yeah, the physicality of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was cool, especially then at the end with the dice.
Oh yeah,
that made more sense.
I was a little confused on how that happened. Like, I didn't really catch something or whatever, but Kylo found the dice, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Again, like it's another one of those things where I feel like I have to watch it again, like if it actually holds up and makes sense.
Yeah. So, what did you think like during the whole, scene with Luke and Kylo? Like, were you like, did you guess what was going on before he
No,
out or?
no, I didn't. It did cross my mind, like, how did he get there? You know, but like I was just so overwhelmed with emotion, like when he just kind of went like, I got this. I just stepped out in front of all those AT&Ts and just kind of, and they just opened fire. Like it was just so awesome. I
was a little bit worried, like, because when that happened and he emerged out of it, I was like, come on, like this. I hope this isn't like, oh, Luke's so powerful, he's invincible. And I'm glad that that's not what it ended up being.
No, but that was actually a thing we were talking about a lot afterwards, which is a general problem I have with like superhero movies and Star Wars and lots of comic books as well, where, like their powers start out small and then they just add on to them and add on to them. And then in the end, they become these godlike beings.
Yeah.
And it kind of ruins the story because there's no threat. Like you can't, like if the heroes become so powerful, then the villains have to become even more powerful or outsmart them. And it's, it's kind of the Superman problem.
Yeah.
And so I was willing to let it slide because it's Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
But I did feel the same thing where it's like, man, like if Luke can do this, then where does it end?
I thought it was kind of cool that he went the way of Ben, Obi-Wan Kenobi, like that, because it hasn't happened since that one time. And it was kind of weird that one time. It's like, wait, what just happened? Like, I still, to this day, I'm like, wait, he didn't get killed. He just like left or something,
Surrendered. Yeah.
Yeah. He just like merged into the Force or something. Like, so it was cool to see it happen again since it's been so long, but so I think that was an appropriate ending for Luke's character, even though I don't want him to be gone.
Yeah, I would rather have had him. Well, I mean, he could still come back as a Force ghost for Rey,
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
But like, yeah, I wanted him to be in the next one as well. So it was a very big surprise that he passed on, but it was so fitting for the story.
Yeah, they handled it so well, because that was one of my things going into the movie is like, please don't kill Luke. Like, I don't want you to kill Luke. You know? And when it happened, it didn't phase me like I thought it would. Like, it worked. It was appropriate. It made sense,
They didn't just kill him off. It was like it was almost as if they were saying, like, we're going to give him what he wants, which is to die on this island. Like that's what he wants, but now he's going to be at peace doing it. So I thought that was very well done. Speaking of Force ghosts,
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think about Yoda?
Oh man, easily some of my favorite parts of the movie. Like Muppet Yoda comes back. I love it. And the goofy stupidness of Yoda
Yeah.
coming back too, which is like, I think people forget, especially with the prequels, because he's just like, oh, he's, you know, this wise Jedi, and this is, you know,
It's all serious.
he's powerful and wise, and yeah, he's serious, and and I mean, and it's cool because that's Luke's Yoda, you know, because
Yeah.
you know, that's his experience was, you know, was with a goofy ass Yoda. So it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, it was very zen how Yoda just ignited the tree. So cool. Oh man, yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, it was interesting how Luke, you know, he ultimately had a hard time burning, you know, the tree in the books and stuff, and then Yoda's just like, all right, I'll just do it.
Yeah, but it was like it was a real. It was almost like he was doing it, and it made perfect sense why he wanted to do it from his point of view.
Hmm.
But then Yoda just kind of like, yeah, you're right, and let me tell you why you're right, because now you're hesitating. So I'm going to give you like a little stamp of approval. You know? Yeah, it was very. There was just again like there was just so much good stuff in this film. You know, that I find it hard that people are just hating on it, but you know, to each their own.
I love page turners. Those books are not.
Yeah.
That was awesome. He's like, did you read them? Well, I skimmed through.
Did you read them? And just a silence. It's like, oh my God, the only Jedi master, and he couldn't be bothered to actually read the instruction manual.
That's awesome.
That's funny. It was very funny. Yeah, what else was good? Like you mentioned Poe, like his story arc.
Oh man, I
That
love
was
him
good.
even more. Like,
I really enjoyed Rose as well. Like again, like you know, the common person, like
hmm
just someone in the rebellion, like no one of significance, like just has an important lesson to teach everyone, you
yeah,
know. And like I did feel like she kind of robbed Finn of his moment of glory, but then at the same time, like when she delivered that line of like what it is, like what they are fighting for,
yeah,
and I was like, actually, yeah, that's a better, like if we're gonna moralize, I'm with Rose on this one, you know. Enough with the endless self-sacrifice.
yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of divided about that whole situation because it's, you know, it was it was such an emotional build up there. That was one of the most emotional parts of the movie, you know, because they're building up this whole story with Finn where it's just like, you know, he's a runaway, you know,
Yeah,
he's sort of a coward, but he's sort of courageous at the same time. And but he tends to kind of want to run away.
yeah,
And in this instance, he was not running away. And I
yeah,
was so emotional at that point because it was like there's no way out. And then, you know, when you're watching a movie like, especially like this, you're like, and it's a big character, you're like, well, something's going to happen, somebody's going to save the day. But it did get to a point where I was like, I think he's going to die right now. Like, I literally think he's about to die. And I even got to the point, because they drew it out for a decent amount of time, I even got to the point where I'm like, I think I'm okay with him dying just because it means so much right now.
yeah.
And then when she saved him, it
It
kind of
totally
took
robbed
away the
him.
meaning. Yeah,
Yeah,
it messed it up. Like, it made me, it was like unsatisfying, even though I really was sort of happy that he didn't die. Because I think he's awesome.
yeah. No, but like I like that they managed to play with our emotions like that.
Yeah,
You know, where like he's embracing this destiny that he's always run away from. He gets to be the hero, and he gets to put a stop to it, and then he's totally robbed of this moment. But then what Rose brings to the story, you know, like where it's like, no, this is what we're actually fighting about, you know.
yeah,
And that she also has selfish motives because clearly like she feels something for him, you know. It just added another layer to it, even though in that moment I felt that Finn was totally being robbed you know, for the wrong reasons until she said what she had to say.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, but I wasn't super satisfied with what she said either. Like, not because it wasn't a good thing, you know, like it's a good thing what she said, and something I, you know, agree with to a certain extent, but it didn't feel, and maybe on a second watching I'll feel differently, but it didn't feel like it was something that was set up in the story like a theme. It was just like, all right, we're going to just kind of pull a theme out of nowhere real quick just to make this make sense, you know. It didn't feel like they built up to that. Like I'm trying to think, what exactly was it she said? She said something about, it's not, I don't know, something about fighting for love or something, and not for something. I can't remember exactly what that line was.
You something along the lines of like, you can't fight hate by blowing stuff up.
Oh yeah, like we have
Like
to.
you have to.
We're fighting.
Yeah, you have to.
We love, not,
Yeah.
you know, just to beat somebody, like an enemy or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, because like
you have to be for something, not just against something. That's kind of what it boiled down to. Like, be for something, like for the one you love. Don't just be against something because it's a hateful thing. Like it doesn't lead to good things.
Right, which is definitely a very interesting, like that little line right there can be a story by itself. Like that, you can make a whole thing about that, and it's very interesting. But I mean, was that something that came out because that was, you know, something they were talking about in this movie? Not really. I don't see that theme anywhere else in the movie that I can.
No, I do. Like with what Leia was trying to teach Poe.
Okay.
I do feel like that was like there was a connection. Like Poe is like Finn, just wants to rush out, do this thing, blow stuff up, even though like he's so lucky he gets alive out of everything, but it ends up getting a lot of people killed. And with Finn, it's like he's going to get himself killed, clearly. And so Leia was kind of pointing out, like, you know, like you can't just always rush off and be the hero. Like sometimes you have to hold back and keep the group together, because that's who you're actually fighting for. So I did feel like there was a parallel. And also with Luke, how he kind of abandoned the group and himself because of his failure, you know? When he also wanted to, like he held, like with the whole subplot with Kylo and like the reveal, like he also had this thing where he was willing to just snuff out the thing that he hates, like the dark side, even if it means, you know, becoming an uncle who kills his nephew. It's like, what the hell are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
That scene was so good, man. That reveal was like, oh my God.
I'm trying to think, like, which reveal? Like,
the whole time when Kylo is teasing Rey, like, did you ask him? Did you ask him what actually happened? Like, why I left, kind of thing?
Right.
That was good.
Yeah. It was interesting because you got to see both sides of their story.
Yeah.
And, you know, Luke was telling the truth, but he wasn't saying everything.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you talk to people, you don't necessarily get into that depth necessarily at first, but then you find out it might need to come out, and it did, obviously. And it made it kind of freaky, because it's like, wait a minute, now I'm questioning, you know, the Jedi's motives in general. Like, are Jedi good? Are Jedi not good? And that's something that, you know, you kind of, when you originally see the original movies, you know, growing up as a kid, you know, Jedi are good, and you know, dark side are evil. But throughout the years, people have questioned that, you know, in the fandom and stuff like that, and it's interesting that they're addressing that, you know, and that they're not just ignoring it, you know.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done.
But yeah, what you're saying about, like, because I was saying that I didn't really see that leading up to that, and that theme, like it almost seemed to come out of nowhere. I think that's one of, again, those things, that I'm gonna have to pay a little more attention to on the second viewing, because you bring up a lot of good points, like that there is, maybe it just didn't feel explicit enough to me, but I mean, they definitely illustrated, if not that theme, something very similar, with Paul and all that.
Well, but again, like the movie is such a roller coaster. Like so much just gets buried in the next, plot point.
So what do you think about the casino world?
At first, I didn't like it.
Mhm.
And I mean, this is just like this movie. This is a beautiful looking movie. Yeah? Like a lot of the designs and the creatures and the throne room, that whole scene with the red, and then the salt planet at the end
Cool.
with the white and the red. Like there's so many amazing visual designs in this film. Like it's such a pretty film to look at. And I feel like the casino scenes were no different. Like they were quite stunning in their sci-fi fantasy outlook, but they reminded me a lot of the prequels. So on the one hand, I'm like, oh, cool. Like they're bringing some of the design back, because obviously that part of the universe is still lived on. It wasn't destroyed or anything.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I'm kind of, I was a little bit like, but I want something a little bit more new, rather than these typical shaped domes like Jabba's palace, So I was just being a little annoyed, but I thought it looked really good.
Well, from hearing some of the things people said, and I was feeling the same way. That's why I bring it up. That part, like when they were in the casino, it took me a little bit out of
it did for me as well.
It felt like it. I mean, yeah, there were crazy creatures, which were really cool, but it kind of felt like just a normal Earth casino,
Yeah.
which kind of bothered me. But I overlooked it, like whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But it did take me out a little bit. It didn't feel as Star Warsy as the rest of the stuff. But I can kind of give them some slack for that.
I feel that whole scene as a whole, I didn't think it was. I mean, I kind of liked it, but I felt like it dragged on too long. And like the whole race with those, well, whatever you want to call them, creatures, the stallions.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called.
I thought all of that looked really good. It was really different, and we've never seen anything like it. And it reminded me a lot more of Japanese animation than anything else.
Yeah, there was definitely some influence of Japanese animation in the
throughout the film. Huh?
Yeah. I did like that world. I just didn't like when they were inside the casino. That just felt like maybe they just filmed from inside a casino and changed some things,
Yeah.
It felt a little too Earth-like, but other than that, like I did like those parts a lot. Some people are complaining that, that whole sequence of events was unneeded. And I don't really agree. I think it was developing Finn and Rose, but mostly Finn. Like the whole point for Rose's existence is to shine light on what's going on with Finn, to a certain degree, story-wise, at least.
Yeah.
In a lot
I thought it was a nice little subplot, but I did feel that the pacing of the film, like it slowed down and it took too long.
Yeah.
But that does bring me to another reason why I compare it to Empire, even though I don't think the movie is like Empire. But we have all these heroes going on separate adventures, and they clearly seem to be in their own time zone. I feel like Luke and Rey are together for much longer than the 1 or 2 days that the rebellion is trying to escape is decimated, and they have to find this hacker and get back on the ship. Like I feel like, just like when Luke was with Yoda and all Han and Leia seemed to do was escape from Hoth, go through the asteroid belt, and end up with Lando, which is like maybe 2 days. Like, I don't think Luke was trained in 2 days. I feel like they're just condensing it for the sake of the movie and like showing it parallel. But actually, one of them has a very, like, that is actually a much longer period of time. And the other one are doing it like, this is like happening, not real time, but like, you know, in 1 day, and that's it. So, and that's why I think it was so odd that it was actually the casino scene where time seemed to drag on a little bit when they should be moving faster and faster and faster because they're in a hurry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was a little, I could see that. I mean, it seemed like when they were talking about, you know, going to that other planet and like trying to find whatever her name is, Mascanato or
Mascanada, yeah.
Yeah, and like then she was like, well, you know, I can't help you, but you know, find this guy. And then they found a different guy who wasn't even the same guy. But when they were deciding to do that, I'm kind of like, do you really have time to go to another planet and have an adventure like before like this ship runs out of gas? Like it seemed like, I don't know, like really?
Yeah.
And in some ways that kind of makes me think too, like one thing that I remember George Lucas was, you know, mentioned about when he was doing the prequels was, you know, he wanted to make the Star Wars world universe look way bigger than it had in the original series. Like he wanted to show how big the universe is, you know, and they went to a lot of different planets and did a lot of different things. In this movie, like I almost feel like maybe they did that because they felt like they had to, and for some reason, because this movie, I mean, the whole thing kind of takes place like in 1 day, really, it seems like.
Well, some storylines do. I think that Rey and Luke spend a lot more time together, actually, than the movie lets on. Just like Luke with Yoda was not, you know, they kind of mess around with the time. But that does bring up, that does lead into like another character or two that we haven't actually touched on. So the hacker himself, Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
I really liked his character.
Yeah.
I thought he really added something, like this whole, like his explanation of how things work in the real world and like open your eyes, like what are you doing? Don't pick sides.
Yeah.
I thought that was very cool. And I have a feeling he's definitely going to be back in the next movie.
Yeah, he's like a Lando / Boba Fett character.
Yeah,
like
he is.
The combination of the two, because he's kind of doing this back and forth. I'm on your side, I'm not on your side thing, but then he's kind of like a badass, like like Boba Fett is, and yeah, interesting.
And like another character we haven't touched on, who actually took me out of the movie, was the lady with the purple hair. Holo. Like to me, she felt like she should be in what's that movies? The series of what is it? The Mockingbird.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, yeah. She felt like she was a character plucked out of the Hunger Games with that style. I just dropped in Star Wars with purple hair. And it was like, I don't know. And she had a nice little, you know, like a nice little twist in her story and what she was actually doing for Poe. And I liked all that, but like just her visual design, I'm like really, she's just standing there in like some kind of nightgown for a ball with purple hair.
Yeah, that I think I heard a reviewer say a similar thing, and I agree. Like they missed the feel on her outfit. They just that's really all it is, because her character to me was fine, but I mean I can't say I loved her, but it was okay. It served its purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the fact that, you know, they're in a war scenario and she's like some kind of general and she looks like she's, you know, going about to go on the red carpet or something, like that didn't quite work.
Yeah, it was very strange, very strange. So And also, that actress is actually very good.
Yeah.
So I almost felt like they kind of underutilized her, you know.
Hmm.
But that's okay.
It was. I mean, she did have a very, you know, big moment. Obviously, you know, when
Yes.
you know, I mean, the whole thing with like going into light speed. I don't know why I didn't think about it. Like, think that would have like. I feel like I should have guessed that because they kept talking about how you know they only have enough fuel to go into light speed one more time, and they hit it like a bunch of different times, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I should have guessed there was going to be more to that, but I just thought, you know, they were just bringing that up as that's the big problem. You know, we have to get, you know, figure out how to, you know, get out of, you know, losing the fuel and not having enough fuel and stuff like that. And then, you know, she does that, and I was like, that was awesome. Like that was a really cool way to, you know, resolve that situation.
Yeah, and also very cool effect.
Yep, absolutely.
Also very manga inspired, I think.
Mm. Some people were saying though that well, no, I should say I think I heard in one review they were kind of talking about how there was too many like self-sacrifice moments in this. Like it comes across as, you know, the way the rebellion fights is they, you know, do these kamikaze missions. That's what they
Yeah,
did.
I heard that too. Um, but I do find all of them quite different.
Yeah.
And for like because the movie opens up with one where someone sacrifices herself.
Hmm.
But that was really in the heat of the moment, and she was going to go down anyway.
Yeah.
I felt
That,
like
I'm
so
pretty
that
sure
that that to me. Sorry.
that was Rose's sister, right?
Yes, yes, it
Yeah.
was.
So that set that up too, which was interesting.
Yeah, and so I felt like that is not the same as um, Finn actually wanting to save everyone
Yeah.
or the admiral. But I can see why people would be like like there's a lot of suicide missions here,
Yeah.
you know. But I feel I don't know, like I think it's a legitimate complaint, and then at the same time I'm like, no, the rebellion is being crushed. They're at the end of their rope. Like
Yeah.
like this is it. Like this is how desperate things are,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah. I kind of
actually,
feel the same way with that.
hmm,
Go ahead.
um, there is actually one thing with like if you take a step back, and this is also true for the Force Awakens, where I feel like you know, so Return of the Jedi, they defeat the evil empire, they set up the New Republic, and then in these new movies, like the tide turns so quickly, and then everything is just lost to the point of like, doesn't it completely undermine the victory in Return of the Jedi?
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it does get to a point. I mean, and I think they somewhat addressed that with um what's his name? Benicio del Toro or something.
Mm-hmm.
They with his character, you know, with the whole, you know, yeah, well, you know, you guys win this time, but later somebody else will win, and then it'll just keep going back and forth. Like they addressed that the reality of war, and
Yeah,
that it
I
kind of
didn't notice that.
yeah. So like they addressed it, but you're right that it does feel like a little bit, you know, weird. That I mean, it's one of those things that for the story it feels weird, but it's kind of what really happens. You know, like wars happen, and
Mm-hmm.
you know one side kind of gains the victory, and then and then things change, eventually.
Yeah. Well, they also didn't show us the any adventures in the 30 years in between.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a well, this is simply where the story picks up,
Hmm.
which is fair enough. But
It's like you can never, I mean, it reflects life because it seems like you can never get ahead sometimes, you can never
mhm,
defeat those, whether they're, um, self enemy type things, like, self destructive type things, or whatever, people against you or whatever. It's like it's always present. Even once you finally get the victory, eventually it creeps back in, and you have to kind of revisit and fight again.
mhm,
So I get what you mean. Um, because in a story, it's like, I mean, it just kind of has to happen because you can't just not have conflict. It's like, oh, this is the Star Wars film where they go
yeah,
to the Star Wars Starbucks and hang out, and like you can't have that. It's
not yet, not
gotta
yet.
be conflict. So I hope you guys dug that. I had a ton of fun hanging out with Yann, and I hope to have more discussions with some of my other fellow creators and stuff. Whether or not it'll be recorded, I don't know. A lot of times we do these hangouts and we just have fun discussing this stuff and all kinds of stuff. So, but hopefully you dug this. If you want to find Yanimal, I will put a link down below, and yeah, definitely check his stuff out. Both of us are part of the 100s anthology that will be kickstarted very, very soon in January. And we were actually both working on our sketches for the reward tiers for that. And we have comics in the anthology, and it's, really cool. So definitely check out Yanimal. He's got an awesome YouTube presence, and yeah, that's it. Hope you guys dug this. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you on the next episode of whatever. Peace out.